Welcome to the NWR Virtual Resources Series. My name is Kerry Stevenson. Up next, we have Codrus Minerals. The ASX code is CDR. Now, Codrus Minerals have got projects here in Australia, but also in Oregon in the US of A. Here to explain what they're doing and how exciting it is, because they've only just listed in June, is Shannan Bamforth. He's the Managing Director. Good to see you, Shannan. Let's hear about all you're doing, the high impact gold exploration. Love it.
Thanks very much, Kerry. Look, leave the disclaimers for people to run through at their own leisure. The presentation can be picked up off our website in this current format and from the ASX platform as well. For Codrus, a couple of key things about the business. One, as Kerry alluded to, we only listed in June. The assets were sitting within Blackstone Minerals, which is focused on the Toccoa nickel project over in Vietnam.
Yep.
The guys were working on those projects to keep them in good standing, the gold projects to keep them in good standing. And each time they did it, they were progressing the projects in a positive fashion, but it really didn't fit within the Blackstone letterhead and where they were headed as a business. So earlier this year, we decided to amass the assets together and pull them out and IPO them. We did that in mid-June. We raised $8 million and hit the ground running fairly quickly. We've got 3 projects in Western Australia, and significantly there to remember is each of those 3 projects are all within short tracking distance to existing operating mines and mills. And then our 4th project is the Bull Run project over in Eastern Oregon. Interestingly, I think if we look at the IPO and the landscape of what's happened over the last year, there's been a lot of IPOs get away. And some of them have a key project, and then the rest are little stocking fillers or embryonic projects that haven't really got a lot of value. Where I think there is a real differentiation is that each of these projects that we have in Codrus Minerals really have genuine opportunity for discovery. We've got a management team that's been around the block before, had exploration success, built mines, and repeated. So it's in our DNA. It's what we do as a business. We're not new to the exploration game, and we're sitting on a very strong cash balance at $6.5 million as at the end of September, and a pretty attractive capital structure with Blackstone Minerals sitting on 46% and sitting in escrow for 2 years. So we've got Andrew Radonjic as our chairman, Jamie Bird as our non-exec director and company secretary. Myself as the MD. Very, very simple capital structure, 75 million shares on issue. Blackstone Minerals sit on 35 million of those, again, escrowed for 2 years. Market cap of 10.5 million and 6.5 cash.
Wow.
What is different about this IPO as well, being the spin out in the form that it was in, there was no cheap money. There was nobody with seed shares or nobody set. So everyone on the management team, we all participated in the offer and we all invested at 20 cents in the IPO. And so we're in at the same terms as every other investor that's out there that was in the IPO. So
that's really good to hear, Shannan, because, you know, sometimes you got all that seed capital and then it bumps out, but it's nice to know that management participated at that 20-cent raise.
Yep. So we all put our dollars where our mouth was, and we believe in the projects, and so yeah, it was a very easy decision for us to invest. So the 3 projects in Western Australia, we've got 2 in the Kalgoorlie area, and then 1, the Middle Creek project, which is up in Nullagine in the Pilbara. So we'll kick off with Red Gate. So Red Gate is in the Edjudina mining centre, which is about 140 kilometres north of Kalgoorlie. We're just a little bit north of the operating porphyry mine, which is being mined by Northern Star at the current time, and they're trucking the material from porphyry back down to their Codrus processing operations. Historically, at Red Gate, there's been a lot of work done at a very small prospect called Porphyry North, with the rest of the tenement sparsely looked at in a highly, highly mineralised area being in around Edjudina. So one of the things that was interesting when we picked up the project was that there was some IP work done by a historic owner And that IP work gave a chargeability anomaly where there was some of the best intersections. So to illustrate this, on the very right-hand side of the screen, we can see Porphyry North, and we can see all the drilling in Porphyry North, very shallow, very concentrated drilling. In and of itself, it is not economic, but it had a small chargeability anomaly when there was an IP survey conducted. So we could actually get a correlation between the geophysics and the mineralisation. So within Blackstone's time, we actually went and did additional IP surveying further to the south, and we picked up Porphyry West. So once we started to see Porphyry West with a nice chargeability anomaly, very sparse drilling, and some of that drilling containing some nice mineralisation with intercepts, as you can see, 12 metres at 9 and 13 metres at 3. We think we've got a real opportunity here. So we've got a rig mobilising in the next week, heading down to Porphyry West. And if the very bottom left-hand side of the screen, you can see a new IP anomaly with essentially no drilling in it, Arietta. So we'll be coming out to test those two projects in the next month.
Shannan, do you think Porphyry North and Porphyry West are on the same geological structure? And could that just be along, a structure right along that area?
Yeah, we're looking at the granite contact. So we're seeing the essentially the sediments and some of the mafic sitting right up on that granite contact, and all the mineralisation sits on the granite contact. But here we think we've actually got a much larger slab of that material for us to explore. So we'll be going into Red Gate with the rig, as I said, next week, probably a month of drilling to get that done. And then with the state of the industry at the current time, we'll be submitting assays. And if we get really lucky, we'll have those back just before Christmas. But I think in a conservative sense, we'll be targeting early into the new year to get assays back from the laboratories, given the fact that they are severely snowed under at the current time. Thinking of Middle Creek, if we go further north, this is up into the Pilbara and Nullagine. And interestingly here, we can see that there's been lots of mining prospects and old mines in this area. From the Blue Speck mining into the very north. Blue Speck was mined historically at 16 grams a tonne, very high grade underground mine. And then to the south, there was the Camel Mining Centre, the 5 Mile Mining Centre, and then the Golden Eagle processing plant and mines that were run by Millennium for many years.
Hey.
Millennium hit corporate and operational issues at the same time, which is unfortunate for them. But Novo Resources, who've got the Beatons Creek asset that's in production at the current time, purchased Millennium's assets, and they've actually got that Golden Eagle Mining Centre back up and processing.
Oh, that's good to know.
So we've actually got that working. To the north, we've got Blue Speck. Blue Speck was recently acquired by Codrus Minerals, and Codrus are going through the build at Warrawoona, and they'll be shipping ore from, they're doing feasibility studies to see if they can work up with a plan to ship ore from there up to their processing plant at Marble Bar. So we're surrounded by good size quality operators. And the intriguing thing when we looked at this area is where we've got our tenements pegged, there was not a single drill hole. So the exploration rationale at Middle Creek through history has been to sit on the Blue Speck fault to the north or the Middle Creek fault to the south and look for arsenic anomalism in geochemistry along those two faults and then work your way out from there. And as you can see, there's lots of the little prospects sit on cross-cutting structures between the two big structures. And where the fluids are in the big structures, they're also going to be found in the smaller structures, as you can see by numerous prospects. And we think we've got a wonderful opportunity to be able to go in here into an area that's essentially not been explored at all historically. Initial programs that were carried out by Codrus was some soil sampling, and instantaneously from the soil sampling and the rock chip sampling, we saw some anomalism return. So that was really quite encouraging. We've seen rock chips up to 5 grams a tonne from surface, and one of the geologists just chipping out through a quartz vein actually just found free visible gold sitting in a quartz vein on one of the trends. So yes, we've got gold in the project. No, it's never been drilled, and we think we've got a really good opportunity to get in here and to turn this around. Our first pass of work, which we're planning to do before the end of the year, is to actually go up and just do some trenching over these geochemistry anomalies, just to get some structure and put in context the geology and the soil anomalies to target us in for drilling. And our plan is to be in there and drilling circa April next year. We'll wait for the wet season to pass us by. We don't want to be caught up here with cyclone depressions and rain coming through and getting us stuck. So we'll just wait until that's past us, and then we'll get on the ground in April with the rig and start to follow up what we can find in the trenches. So as we keep working through, we've got Silver Swan South, and Silver Swan South is a project sitting about 40 kilometres north of Kalgoorlie. On the plan on the left at the very south, you can see the Kanowna Belle mine. That's a plus 5 million ounce generational mine that's owned by Northern Star and still in processing. And then you've got Silver Swan, which is a very high grade nickel mine to the north. And those mines have been real bellwethers. Silver Swan, very high grade nickel, and recently Poseidon have just had the Golden Swan discovery of a new nickel lens up at that mine. So when we look at our Silver Swan project, we've got the Black Eagle and Black Falcon prospects. These are prospective both for gold and for nickel. And then the Black Hawk and Venus, which are really focused on the gold. So we've got the ultramafics that sit on the very eastern side of a big volcanoclastic unit. And then we've got volcanoclastics and sediments sort of interbedded, working our way through the Venus and Black Hawk prospects. Historical mineralisation was always found to be just at the base of the transported cover. And up until our maiden program at the start of July, there'd never been a hole that penetrated the paleo cover down into bedrock. So this was some fairly ambitious and big thinking drilling that we took onto here. So heading into holes that are 450 odd metres deep in your maiden program, we decided we were going to go in and really understand what was going on with the geology. And we got in, we found the right rock types. Unfortunately, on these first 4 holes, the mineralisation we were hoping for wasn't encountered. We drilled under the best paleo mineralisation that we could see. We saw elevated sulphur, we saw lots of sericite and the right alteration. We're just a little bit shy on the gold in the assays. What we will be looking at is actually doing some vectoring on this alteration, doing some petrology, and see if we can actually get into the slightly hotter part of the system in terms of sulphide content. So we had 3 out of the 4 ingredients. We had the right geology, the right structure, and the right alteration. Now we just got to get that final one, which is the grade. We see ourselves sitting here 8-10 kilometres north of Kanowna Belle, in an area that again is very underexplored given its location being so close to Kalgoorlie. Moving forward, we'll step into Oregon. And I think if we think about the gold fields of Australia and our gold rushes of centuries past, we think of places like Bendigo, Ballarat, Kalgoorlie, Coolgardie. When you go into Western America, you actually start to talk about places like Baker City, Sumter. These are places that had a massive boom through the gold rush era. They were mined through the alluvials historically in the 1860s through to the 1900s. Once they'd actually mined out most of the alluvials, they started to work their way up the side of the mountains, and they started to find outcropping veins with visible mineralisation. And really, that was about as far as the exploration in Oregon has gone. So there's lots of opportunity sitting here. We were able to pick up the Bull Run project. Very simple deal. There's 12 mining claims that we've got an option agreement over, $25,000 a year. We can explore as much as we want. Oh. And if we decide at any particular time we want to purchase those tenements, then we can buy them for $1 million flat fee. But outside those 12...
Sorry, Shannan, that's across, so it's 12 separate, I guess, prospectors, if you like, that are holding those claims. Are they all working together as one? Have I got that right?
So the 12 claims are all owned by the same owners.
Got it, okay.
And so we've got those 12 mineral claims, and we've got one agreement that covers those mineral claims with the one owner. But we've also pegged over 90 mineral claims that ring fence around that option agreement and cover off on the prospective geology that we've been able to establish.
Okay.
So the owners that have got this at the current time have actually been mining this pretty much on and off for the last 100 years. And it's been mined as a hobby mine. So there's a couple of older gents and they'll go up 2 or 3 times a year, mine 1 or 2 cuts and process it and take a little bit of gold. They mine a very narrow quartz vein that goes plus an ounce. And you can see by the diagram on the left-hand side, you can see quite a lot of cross-cutting workings, chasing vein structures that have been done over the last 100 years. But no exploration has been done of any note, looking at this from a big picture perspective and a bulk tonnage perspective. They did an option agreement in the 1980s with Newmont, and with that option agreement, where they landed was 3 holes. And obviously 20 odd metres at 3 grams from very close to surface. Whilst in today's parlance, that's a really great intercept for Newmont in the 1980s when they were looking for plus 5 million ounces or plus 5 grams. It didn't really cut it. So they walked away from the option agreement with really doing a very minimal test of the geology. We can see on the plan view to the left, we've got these dacitic and andesitic dikes. These dikes are shot through with pyrite. And when our guys have been on the ground, they've been doing a little bit of sampling. And we see that there's actually some gold carrying in these dikes. So we're in the process of setting up a 3D IP survey, be on the ground at the start of November. And we'll be looking to see if we can actually find some good chargeable anomalies in these dikes, showing where we've got the concentrations of the pyrite. And if we can get those in association with the areas where we've seen the veining, then that'll form the basis of our drill targeting. And our plan would be, given that we can get rigs to be on the ground in January and start drilling into this project in January. So it sets us up to get a really good news flow coming from our projects in America. We've got people on the ground that are helping us there. And again, we've got a fairly good history of working the US system. I've spent the last 11 years with Sandfire Resources. We had the Blackview project in Montana. So I've been through the entire exploration and permitting process to get that project across the line at the end of last year. So
I was actually going to ask you, Shannan, are there going to be any challenges in doing the drilling and doing the exploration over there?
There is always challenges, but I think the geological opportunity far outweighs the challenges. And interestingly, we just go back a slide and look at south of our Bull Run project, we can see Grassy Mountain, and that's Paramount, Nevada, key project. And they're in the process of actually getting that mine developed. So they're getting it all permitted, and we actually can see a front runner in front of us going through the process and essentially proving that the actual permitting pathway, whilst it may not be simplistic, is achievable.
Right, thanks.
So here's the IP survey. We'll be on the ground gathering this data in November. This will really, with the soil sampling and the rock chips, lead us into our initial drill program on here. And we'll be looking to do initially at least 3,000 metres of diamond drilling into this project to really understand what we may have our hands on. So as we can see here, I'll run through this one very quickly because I've spoken to it already, but all of the projects are getting work completed on them. As I alluded to, there's no stocking stuffers. These are all genuine projects with great opportunity for exploration success. So really, you've got a small exploration company that's highly leveraged to exploration opportunity and discovery. We believe we've got the right amount of money in the bank to really see us accelerate our knowledge and understanding of these projects towards discovery in the near term. And we've got a very supportive major shareholder in Blackstone Minerals sitting there supporting us.
Thank you, Shannan. Really good presentation, good overview. I've got a question here, which is about the drilling at Redgate. What's the split out of the 2,500 metres of RC drilling? What's the split between testing the historic gold mineralisation and testing new IP anomalies?
So we've probably got about a 70-30 split, 70 on new IP anomalies and 30 on chasing up historic mineralisation, making sure we can chase that down.
So just getting an idea of the historic, but really you see where the, I guess, the opportunity is in the exploration side.
Yeah, really want to test to see if the IP is a good correlation as we move away from Porphyry North. And if that IP correlates well with mineralisation, then we'll also look at expanding the IP surveys. But look, we're a junior explorer. The first thing we want to do is drill holes with gold in it and really start to work those up towards resources. And if we can do that using the IP and the historical mineralisation, then we'll do what it takes to get ounces on the board.
Are you going to increase the size of the program at Redgate, or is it too early to say that at the moment?
I'm fairly confident that we'll expand that program. So we'll do this initial program, which will be shallow RC, circa 100, 110 metre holes, just to really try and line ourselves up and get ourselves oriented. And then we'll be looking to come back with deeper RC, potentially diamond.
Shannan, you know, you've been in this game for a while. I'm asking because I just want to know, like sometimes your instinct tells you which one of your children out there on these projects excites you the most. Now, in watching your presentation, I kind of like the Oregon project, the Bull Run project, because it seems to me that there's not been very much drilling done there, hardly anything, and you're coming in with modern technology, modern drilling techniques, etc. Compare that to Pilbara. Are they very different? Which one do you think potentially has the most upside?
They're really different in their maturity. But if I had to give 3 projects away and keep one, I'd keep Bull Run.
Oh, is that right? There you go. So you've got $6.5 million in the bank. You talked about what you're doing in terms of how you're going to deploy that cash across the next, let's say the next 6 months. Would more of a focus be on Bull Run at the moment, or are the other 3 projects in Australia going to get equal attention?
Redgate and Middle Creek, they'll definitely get it in the next 6 months, get a fair bit of attention. That'll keep our Australian exploration team fairly busy as we work that one forward. We'll continue to work and put in some very small but financially insignificant programs at Silver Swan South, just doing some more petrology and some targeting work.
Right.
And then we'll be on the ground and working at Bull Run. And look, at $6.5 million cash in our exploration programs, I think that'll see us well into the next 18 months.
Well, you've got a busy lot of news coming forward. I wish you all the best. With Blackstone at, what are they, 52%?
46.
46. Do they get involved at all, or is it purely because it was a spin-off of Blackstone, that's their shareholding and they let you get on with what you're doing?
Absolutely. I get on and do what I'm doing. But look, we're keeping the overheads down. There's 3 businesses work out of the same office. Blackstone's in the same office. They're obviously the big partner. So we have shared services for a lot of our administration, so we're not taking on any real significant cost in Codrus. And I've also got access to the smart geologists that actually are in Blackstone but worked on these projects historically, so I can always leverage off their experience.
That is great to hear, because you know what, sometimes we look at admin expenses and think, oh, as a shareholder, goodness me, why? So congratulations, that's really good to hear. So the money is going in the ground rather than on the overheads.
Absolutely, mate. I've been invested in many junior explorers myself, and there's nothing I hate more than seeing long lunches and fancy offices. Well,
ladies and gentlemen that are watching, shareholders or potential shareholders, you heard it from Shannan's mouth, that nothing he hates worse than long lunches and wasting shareholder funds. Wish you all the best with this, Shannan, and we look forward to the news flow going forward. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much, Gary.
Cheers.
Bye.